Thunder! Thunder! Thunder!
What are you looking at, nerd? Huh?
Nerds! 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 Get those nerds!
Woo! If that doesn't get you riled up, I don't know what does. I am Frederick Philip von Weiss, and thank you so much for consuming the Thunder Nerds, a conversation with the people behind the technology that love what they do and do tech good. And speaking of doing tech good, we have an amazing sponsor for the show this year. Yeah, we have Auth0. So let's talk a little bit about them, and we'll get into why that's funny in a little bit. But Auth0, they make it easy for developers to build a custom, secure, and standard-based unified login by providing authentication and authorization as a service. You could try them out now at auth0.com. Sequentially, you could go to their sites that follow the same pattern on the social medias. We have youtube.com/auth0. We have twitch.tv/auth0. And we have the developer playground and super cool events at the avocadolabs.dev. So check them out there. That'd be super neato, cool of you. And please, if you can, go to the YouTube, subscribe to the show. Click the notification bell and get 7 years of good luck. We would really, really appreciate that. And let's get to our guest. Let's welcome him. We have a very special guest today. We have tech evangelist, author, senior R&D content engineer, and rock and roll accordionist, the rock and roll accordion guy himself, Joey deVilla. Welcome back to the show, Joey. Super appreciate you being here with us today.
Always glad to be here. And you know what? I do love that intro. I do love that show intro that you have.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Yeah, we work hard at our fun little intros.
Yeah, it warms my 80s child heart.
Yeah, I mean the Thundercats were the best, and I don't know if you've seen, but they actually have some alternative versions now. Like they have like a little kid version where it's like all like funny, all the new goofy stuff on Cartoon Network. Like they do all that, and it's super cute too. It's a lot of fun.
I have not seen it. I'll have to check it out, and of course, gotta love the Revenge of the Nerds reference as well. Always classic.
Exactly. Great movies. If you don't know those, maybe don't go back and watch them because they're probably not up to date and they're loaded up. But yeah, problematic. But they were funny for the time. There's a lot of stuff that's like, it's cringy. But yeah. Anyways, if you grew up on it, you grew up. So hey, man, welcome back to the show. I think you've been on the Thunder Nerds now for 333 times. You know, we first met at a Dev Fest somewhere or on the moon with Neil Armstrong. I'm not sure. Either one is probably right. What have you been up to? I'd love to know how things have been going. And obviously with the vids, the COVID's going on. How has that affected your life? You can't travel. How's business going? Big question. Go for it.
Kind of tricky. Well, all right. COVID. COVID presented a few challenges, not the least of which is that last April, my job evaporated. So I was doing mobile app development, and they had to cut the staff by quite a bit. And as one of the newer people, I just got cut. So what I did was I decided, okay, that did give me time to finish a book for RayWenderlich.com. I was in the middle of revising a book, my half of the book, a book called iOS Apprentice, and it is a beginner's guide to iOS programming. So I was taking care of the half of the book that covered Swift UI programming, which is the new framework for developing apps in general for Apple products. So unlike the old way, which is kind of more like the basic visual 90s visual tool way, where you dragged controls onto a window and then attached code to those controls. You were now doing it a little more declared. You were declaring the actual UI in code and doing it declaratively. If you program in React, you're going to find it really familiar. So it's a little more. It's a modern way of doing it, because the way that you were doing it before, UI kit really, I mean, that comes from the 70s.
Does it really? Is that the stem? Okay.
Yeah, it is that old. Like, it goes all that small talk stuff. It was cutting edge in the 70s, but it was getting a bit old. And I mean, that's why we do have these declarative reactive frameworks now, where you've got these user interfaces that keep track of a state, and then if I were Johnny Cochran, I would just say, if you want to update, change the state, that kind of thing. That would be my rap for it. But yeah, that's the thing, is that now we want reactive declarative UIs where the user interface actually properly models the underlying data. Whereas beforehand, what we always had to do is we always had to check, oh yeah, did I change that variable? Oh, I better update that thing on the screen. And you often forgot.
Is it easy for people to understand the value here, Joey? Like, I mean, you're explaining it and it sounds crystal clear, but is there somebody that's picking this up and taking a look and going, I really like the old way I was doing things. There's less friction. I'm going to keep on the path that I've been taking. I know the roads. I know how to get there in 5 minutes. Like, how does that work?
Well, you know what? That happens anyways, right? I mean,
Sure.
You've got people who still say, you know what, I'd rather program in C. Very straightforward. C has less than 40 keywords, right? Nice and simple. Like, even the latest version of C9, actually, it's probably not C99 anymore, but it doesn't have that many keywords. It's really straightforward. We figured out it does a lot. It runs on everything. Why would I need to learn one of these crazy newfangled programming languages? It does happen. And you know what? If you can continue programming in a language from 1970, that's where C's from, and it works for you, especially if you're in the world of embedded devices, or you're contributing to the Linux kernel, or you're writing video games, and you can still do it. Yeah, all the more power to you. You can get all the good object-oriented goodness that we have in modern languages in C. I mean, you're creating structs with function pointers. Those are your methods, and then you've got variables in those structs. Those are your those are your properties. You can do it. I mean, if you're programming in GTK, that's exactly what you're doing. You're just building all these structs with function pointers and variables, and you're doing object-oriented programming that way.
There's always some way to do a thing 100 different ways, right? I mean, I still know people that build design websites in Photoshop, whatever. Sure. Hey, the results are the results, and if they're great, they're great. Good for you, right? Well, how do you communicate the value then to people? Like, when you're selling this, what do you talk about first?
Well, in such a case, what I do is I end up talking with them about a real life problem they've occurred, and I would say something like, when you get the notification badge on an icon for, I don't know, your email, and it goes, oh, hey, you've got 2 emails, or you got 2 messages, and you click on it, and it turns out that you didn't have 2 messages. It's just that the UI was really slow in updating that number, and you were getting an update from minutes or hours ago. And I would point out, see, that is where a declarative reactive UI comes in really handy, because the UI is always modeling what the underlying data actually contains. You didn't have to run some extra code, go, oh yeah, I better check this variable and then display that value somewhere on the UI. That's already been taken care of. That's already been taken care of for you. This is less error prone. you guess what? You're doing less. You're doing less extra work now. You're not doing as much yak shaving anymore. I don't know if they used to use that. They used to use that term a lot, like the Eric Raymond's Hacker's Dictionary, the jargon handbook, the Hacker Dictionary. Yeah, he used to use,
that's awesome.
Used to use the term yak shaving all the time. That's from that's a Ren and Stimpy reference.
One of the best shows ever.
Oh yeah.
I never even heard of a place where you could buy rubber nipples until that show. So yeah.
Well, there you go.
Teaching your grandmother how to suck eggs. Yeah, this is a funny show. Not appropriate for children, I don't think. Probably not.
But so anyways, I was working on that portion of the book, the new way to program the iPhone. And then the other thing I did was I was also doing some teaching on behalf of Computer Coach. They were offering a lot of courses, and I think there was some government stimulus money for it because some of these courses were really expensive, and I think the students were able to attend for free or greatly reduced rates. They wanted to pivot to learning some programming. So I taught two Python courses and a JavaScript course. And also at the same time, while it was still around, I also took a course, managed to get, there was some funding as well, so I got to take it at a greatly reduced rate. I took a security course, 6 weeks, 6 weeks at the place that used to be called the Undercroft. They now go by the name Neon Temple, and it was security training from people who actually work in the security industry.
Oh, that must have been super cool. I'm sure you picked up a ton from that.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. You know what? I knew how to do it theoretically. I'd never actually performed a dictionary attack or let's see now, DDoS. Or just set up a DDoS or just all that stuff.
What was the most coolest thing you learned from that?
Ooh, that's kind of tricky, actually.
Just one of them. Maybe not the most. Let's not say the quintessential thing, but one of the really cool things.
It was a big burrito of cool. I mean, I guess. I mean, some of the coolest stuff I got to see a Ponagachi in action. Are you familiar with those?
No, I'm not.
It is a Raspberry Pi Zero that is specifically set up for all kinds of hackery things, including Wi-Fi sniffing, and it is incredibly cute. If anybody's listening to the podcast, go look it up. Ponagachi, with Pone spelled as PWN, and the Gachi part kind of like Tamagotchi.
I love the Tamagotchi. I got my cat to leave. I trained it all the way, and it left one day, left the nest. It's pretty cool. I cried a little bit, but I was 19. But I still miss that cat. But man, that's awesome. Good for you. Let me ask you, what was the Sega Genesis that made you write this? Why?
The book or the?
Yeah, the book. Sorry, I'm going back to the book.
Oh, going back to the book. Okay, well. Actually, the book, this would have been the 8th edition of this book. So it's been published for a good long time. But the other thing is, I actually feel fondness and loyalty for this book because it is the book that I used to learn iOS programming, a much earlier edition. So I've been writing articles every now and again for RayWenderlich.com. And when the opportunity came up to be an author for the book, I said, look, I want to do this because, well, one, it would be absolute fun, but two, I want to pay it back. I learned from this book, so I would like to contribute to the latest edition of this book so that someone else will learn from this book.
That's so cool. It must have felt like such an honor and a joy to be able to do that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And the other thing, of course, is that this is the flagship book that Ray Wenderlich publishes. They have a whole bunch, but this was their first book, and I actually, in the interview to land the authorship job, because they still did interview. They wanted to make sure that, they were picking the right person for it. I basically said, look, if all the books you publish are the Marvel Cinematic Universe, if all your books are the Ray Wenderlich Cinematic Universe, this book is Iron Man 1. And And yeah, you know, I feel very special about this book. It's Iron Man.
That's so cool. And again, for the audio listeners, we'll put links in the show notes. So where can somebody find out about the book?
Okay, you can find out about the book at raywenderlich.com. And it's a tricky name to spell, so yeah, definitely check the show notes.
Yeah, we'll put a link in there. And yeah, that's so cool. So why don't we talk a little bit about really about the topic of the show, about the whole thing with Auth0, about how you got the job. You know, you did some research. Maybe you looked at some people on this podcast, possibly.
I did some research. Why don't I get to that first? Okay, first of all, this job does not. I owe you guys some beers.
I like beers.
I owe you guys some beers because actually,
drink them.
This job does not exist without the Thunder Nerds.
Nice.
Okay, and the reason for that is I used this for research when I was it's not auditioning, but when I was getting set up to talk to Auth0, I had a plan, you know, to land a job because they were advertising this content engineer job, which looked like it would fit me to a T. So I figured I should do my research. I should find out who in the same department works at Auth0, what they do, what they're like, that sort of thing. And you had two people from what is now the developer marketing department.
That's right.
As guests. So you had Sam Julien.
That's right.
And Sam, let's see, he's now head of developer relations.
That's right.
Okay. And you also have James Quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Both of whom I work with now. So that was great.
That's so cool.
I listened to their interviews at least twice, I'm pretty sure. And,
nice.
You know, took some notes and made sure that I internalized and figured out a few things from what they said so that I would know what to say when it was my turn to be interviewed. Yeah, so it was really handy. So yes, big debt of gratitude to the Thunder Nerds. If you want a job, listen to Thunder Nerds. That's
You know, I tell a lot of people that all the time. So yeah, thanks, Joe. I appreciate that. So so you interview for the job. You go in, you get the job, and now you are doing some R&D, which, you know, most people know what the term is. I'm sure some people think it stands for rivers and dams and something about streams. But maybe you could communicate what R&D is and the value of R&D. What you're doing there.
Okay. Well, R&D means research and development, and it is what drives the industry forward. But it's kind of interesting because, of course, it does mean all sorts of things. In this case, it just means that I am constantly researching and developing new ways to reach developers and talk to them about a couple of things. One of which is programming software development, whatever you want to call it, in general. And then also, you know, if you're interested in this sort of thing, let me tell you about this authentication and authorization service that I happen to be able to hook you up with. You know, that sort of thing. And it is both simultaneously an interesting and boring product at the same time. And that's just kind of simply because, you know, it's interesting because it's computer it's computer security. This sort of thing is a vital component of most applications these days. But it's kind of boring because in the end, you know, you're thinking, what, you mean logins? You know, that sort of thing. But it's something that you don't, you know, under most circumstances, I would say 99.99% of cases, it's probably something that you don't really want to build yourself anymore. Why
would you? Just use a service. I use a service for everything.
Well, that's it. I mean, just as you don't go to the woods to chop down a tree so that you can get the wood to make a door, instead you go to Home Depot and you buy a standardized door. And Ideally, they're constantly researching and improving doors all the time as well.
I would hope.
Especially, here in Florida, you've got these hurricane-rated doors, that sort of thing, and they're standardized, and they actually interface well with standard-sized doorknobs and locks. Yeah, that is the same deal. That is the same deal with Auth0. I mean, we are using specific standards like OpenID Connect and OpenAuth 2.0, and at the same time, we're putting these standards together in a way that makes it easy for you to use, so you don't have to worry so much about the authentication part of your application. You can worry about what the main thing your application does. The idea is
you took the words out of my mouth. Yeah, being able to delegate your time as far as, I'll just use this rather than spending X amount on that. I really need my application to do X, Y, and Z, or my website, what have you, right? And then being able to depend on that, and even more validity to talk about how amazing Auth0 is. There's a new component to everything now that I believe you could talk about, right? There's something that rhymes with the word acquisition. Boy, what rhymes with acquisition? It's like orange.
Acquisition.
Acquisition. Boom. What rhymes with snacquisition? Tell me, Joey. What happened?
Okay. Well, you see, Frederick, when two companies like each other very much,
they have a special hug, and a new company is formed,
and money is exchanged.
Well, thus the love.
Okay, well, there is a company called Okta, and they are a good deal larger and a little bit older than we are. I believe Okta's origin story starts in about 2008, 2009, and they are also in the business of authentication and authorization, but in a slightly different area. In fact, they are their real bread and butter actually is employee authorization. So if you are a company, and of course you've got all your standard company software, and you want your employees to be able to log into those systems, you are basically using employee authorization, and that is something that they excel at. So there are these large Fortune 500, Fortune 250, Fortune 100 companies who do whose employees log in using Okta. So the Okta's particular market is the C-suite, the CTO, Chief Technical Officer, and the CIO, CISO, the Chief Information Security Officer. So that's the market they target. But that is a pretty big market. Whereas Auth0, on the other hand, basically is going after developers who are building apps who need to provide some kind of login authentication service. So our target market, we're actually directly talking to developers. So we're the t-shirts and hoodies, and they're the blazers and loafers, and together we are forming the mullet of identity for the web, for the net. So
mullet? I love that.
The mullet of identity, business in the front, party in the back.
Ah, there we go. Okay, gotcha. I was thinking about some kind of transformer, but I like the mullet analogy, which I always do. Got it. That's awesome. So yeah, I mean, you have a bright future, I'm sure, ahead. There must be some crazy exciting plans for the 2 to 3 year down the road, and what that's going to look like, being able to serve all these different levels of clients, from what you said with the programmers up to enterprise, I'm sure. That's amazing.
Yeah, and it's going to be really interesting. And what's going to happen, at least in the very short term, in fact, actually, is that New customers may come up to one company or the other and go, I need this. And our sales teams will take a look and go, you know what? Our buddy here is probably better suited to you, and vice versa. So what's going to happen is, in certain cases, people are going to go up to us and say, I need this. And then somebody's going to go, no. You need, you need employee authentication, go here. Or on the other hand, somebody's going to go, you know what, you need application per user level application authentication. Yeah, you want the Auth0 side of the company. Or maybe in some cases, an organization might need both. But,
I was going to ask you that question. Like, what happens for your existing customers on both sides, right? On the left and the right of the same body? Are there very advantageous things that come along with this, where they go, oh wow, now I get this and now I get that on both sides, right?
Yeah, I mean, if they were buying a specific service, things continue as normal. It's just that the catalog got bigger. It's like going to Amazon and suddenly finding double the pages.
Yeah, sure. Wow, that's amazing. So, does this change your role in any way, or now are you doing R&D for both entities? Or, I mean, obviously it's going to be the same entity. I'm sure it's like a plan down the road to kind of together.
Looks like short-term same entity, because a lot of it is still kind of figuring out what the other half of the organization can do.
Right.
So, and a lot of that just requires a lot of conversations between our counterparts on the other side. And
sure.
that's just going to take time, planning, a little bit of execution. Some of it has already happened. So we've had, you mentioned earlier at the start of the show during the sponsor message, the Auth0 Twitch channel. So earlier today, we had a joint show off your personal projects Twitch session.
Oh, that's fun.
With some people from Okta developer relations and some people from Auth0 developer relations, and me included, and we were just showing off our various projects. So
nice.
And we're just beginning. We're just beginning to get to know each other. By sheer coincidence, it turns out I knew someone from Okta DevRel because we both at one point worked at Microsoft. So it was kind of nice. It was Joel Franusik back from it. I knew him back from his BizSpark days at Microsoft when I was a developer evangelist there, and I was trying really hard to make Windows Phone happen. I tried. I did my part.
Yeah, there you go. I like some of the Windows technology. I still have a Zune.
Oh yeah, okay. You know what? When I moved from Toronto, I had to get rid of a lot of stuff, but I did sell my Zunes to somebody who I know is taking very, very good care of them. Actually, it was the last Zune, the Zune HD, the one with the Windows Phone-like interface. In fact, they hadn't told us about Windows Phone 7 yet, but I remember playing with the Zune HD, and I was going, why do they not just wrap a phone around this? This could be something, and it turns out it was already in the works.
Isn't that funny how that happens?
That happens a lot, and that's kind of what you get used to. Like, it began to slowly dawn on me that of course, and this is just a natural consequence of acquisitions, is that Okta knew about the plan long before even the highest level people at Auth0 did, right?
Sure.
Yeah. That's the way time works. Yeah. So. Yeah. So I am sure there are parts of the plan. There are parts of the plan that are not visible to me yet, and a good chunk of what's going to make this year interesting, aside from the constant acceleration of post-COVID, is that every day is going to be a little bit of a surprise. I don't mind that. That's kind of a lot of fun. And you know what? After after sticking at home for about a year now, yeah, I could use a couple of good surprises.
Are you going crazy? First off, let me ask you: did you get your cootie shots? Did you get your two vaccines? And what flavor did you get? Did you get vanilla, chocolate, or Pfizer?
Yes, I did. I got Pfizer. It was just down the street because I live in Seminole Heights, hipster central. The Publix has Man Bun Monday.
Nice. Oh, I should go there.
You should. But I am just down the street from the old Greyhound track. And the old Greyhound track has been converted to a FEMA site, which means not only do I get a shot, but if you go there, you get a shot from Air Force medics. Like it's the Air Force who are helping hustle people from section to section, and they're in full uniform because it's a government. Because it's a government. Yeah, because it's a government site. They figured they would get government. Yeah. They would get government crowd control people to shuffle you through it. And they were quite efficient. Like if it weren't for, like the actual getting processed and getting the shot and waiting the 15 minutes after to make sure there weren't any immediate adverse reactions was about 25 minutes all told. Very efficiently run. They processed a lot of people. The parking was the time consuming thing.
Yeah, I bet everybody's trying to get there and trying to get their shot. I mean, I went to the CVS and probably I don't even remember where it is. Like 45 minutes away from me. I just went anywhere I could. Okay. And I was actually very lucky. They were very professional. They got me in and out like that. It was a nice experience as it could be. So. I'm pretty happy. Let me ask you, do you have, I know I do. I have, I don't know if I'm just paranoid, if I just have made up trepidation, but I'm still I'm fully vaccinated. I'm 2 weeks in. I'm still kind of scared to go out in public, even though, they say the Pfizer, it's pretty good against the variants and et cetera, et cetera. I'm just, I don't know if I'm just shell shocked or I don't want to see people anymore. I don't know. What do you think? What do you feel?
Let's put it this way. You play D&D?
I know of D&D and I have played it. I haven't played it in a while.
So you have played D&D, right?
Well, yeah, we used to have like a live D&D thing at my school, Ringling School, the Ringling College of the Arts, and they would do like a D&D at midnight. Okay, so you've rolled the 20-sided die, right? Yes, sir.
Okay, well, here's the thing, right? The Pfizer vaccine, 95% effective means 5% ineffective. Just like Miracle Max from Princess Bride, mostly dead, mostly dead, and still partly alive.
It's still right. Oh, Billy Crystal, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, 95% effective means 5% ineffective. That's rolling a 1. Any D&D player knows sooner or later that's gonna happen.
Yeah, that's why I'm scared.
5% is still 5% is still a pretty good chance. Still a pretty good chance. There's also some vaccine hesitancy out there. I mean, I'm keeping an eye on how many people are getting their shots in the end. Like at a certain point, and I will listen to, and there are people I can listen to. There is Dr. Fauci and the rest of the CDC, and I have an additional bonus. And that is that my sister, Dr. Eileen deVilla, is the chief medical officer for health for the city of Toronto.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, because your parents were both doctors, and I forgot your sister went into the medical profession as well.
So all municipal health issues are hers. Like I know what restaurants not to eat at.
Nice.
In Toronto. So I check up on her as well. So she's got good recommendations. So in the meantime, I'm still holding back. I have, the couple of times I've gone to a restaurant to actually sit down, it was outdoors. They were actually both in St. Pete. So the new Doc Ford's, the one it's by St. Pete Pier, the new St. Pete Pier. It was really nice. Yeah. Actually, both times they were restaurants. They were open air restaurants by St. Pete Pier. So outdoors. I've had a couple of really small gatherings, like just two, 3 friends outdoors on my front lawn, and that's about it. Holding off, but I don't want to, I'm hoping that, let's see how things go after, say, the 4th of July. They're kind of treating that as an arbitrary marker. Let's see how things go. Because one thing I want to bring back, and maybe I can still do it outdoors, is a meetup that my wife and I run, Coders, Creatives, and Craft Beer. And it is just an excuse to get our geeky and creative friends together at Seventh Sun Brewery in Seminole Heights for beer and some food and conversation. And
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I greatly miss that, and I would love to bring it back.
I hope that happens very soon. That sounds great.
Yeah,
I will definitely come. Honestly, please invite me because I will be there. Let me ask you a few more things, because I want to get to some other things about music. But I really want to ask you, for the people that that are interested in getting into R&D. I imagine you don't go to school for R&D. You don't come out of college and go, I'm going to do research and development. It's kind of a thing. I guess it just progressively makes sense as you're traveling through your career, right? So how does one get into that field, and then how does one become successful for the people that are going, this is the way I'm going. Can you give me some tips, some ideas to help me improve my career journey and what I'm thinking about, how everything makes sense to me while I'm going down this path?
Okay, well, let's see now.
Loaded question.
Well, I can give you a dumb short answer and then expand on it.
I love that. That sounds great.
All right. And I guess the thing is, well, you know what dumb short answer is? Let's say you find $20 on the street. Would you buy Dogecoin with it? Just to see what happened. And if your answer kind of leans closer to yes, then I would say maybe you do have that particular inclination towards R&D. In this case, that tendency to go, let's poke at it and see what happens. Let's do a little bit of experimenting. Let's see what's possible. And it is kind of an interesting area to be in right now. Now, as far as R&D goes, yeah, that's right. There is no certificate program. There is no college major that is called R&D. It comes disguised in all sorts. It comes disguised as all sorts of things. Sometimes it comes disguised as engineering. Sometimes it comes disguised as computer science. Sometimes it comes disguised as philosophy. The idea is, as long as you are expressing some kind of curiosity and willingness to experiment and put in the work, you are cut out for R&D. And if you want to play around with things, especially new things, especially if you want to, I'm a Canadian, so I've got to use the standard term. I've got to use the Canadianism. You want to skate to where the puck is going, not where the puck is or has been. And one way to think about it is, let's consider the languages. Let's consider what are considered the really popular languages right now, because you're doing some development work, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Which language?
A little bit of JavaScript, CSS, HTML. I play around with Vue, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, but JavaScript, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's a 25-year-old language.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. JavaScript, 1995. If you are a .NET developer, you are more than likely programming in C#.
Yeah.
2000. It's actually the newest of the mainstream languages right now. Java, 1995.
Cold Fusion.
Actually, I hear it's in use, but but Cold Fusion is either early 90s or late 80s. Can't remember.
Something like that. Yeah, I think it's more 90s.
Yeah. PHP, 1994. Actually worked as a...
And still going.
Yeah, that's right. Ruby, 1995, and Python, the super hot language, 1991. Like
really?
we were talking,
Wow.
yeah, Guido van Rossum was put out the first version in 1991. When I started working with it in 1999, Python 1.8, you still had to import the string module to work with strings. It wasn't built in yet.
No, it's funny how that works.
One thing that I'm talking about lately are these, is 2010, the languages of the 2010s. We are working with, the languages that we're using right now, are generally from the 90s, and they carry with them lessons learned from programming in the 80s. And a lot of them are from a time when at least home computers could not run some form of Unix because they required some ridiculously large amount of disk space, like 5 whole megabytes. So these 90s languages are carrying a lot of baggage of 80s design, and they were meant to solve problems that people had come up with the 80s. In fact, one of the selling points of Java, the programming language, was simple C++ syntax. That is the only time you're ever going to hear those words in the same sentence. That sort of thing. So, but there's this whole new wave of 2010s languages, and they have a few things in common, including things like, they embrace, you can use them really well as object-oriented programming languages or functional programming languages. No semicolon, most of them no semicolons. They kind of figured out, their compilers are smart enough to know when you've actually hit the end of a line. Let's see now. Some of them provide some declarative interfaces. A lot of them know. A lot of them have optionals. In other words, they know how to handle null types, because null pointers. Professor C.A.R. Hoare calls null. He invented the null pointer, but he also calls it his billion-dollar mistake. It causes lots of problems. That's what optionals are there for. Just all kinds of lovely new language features, and some of them you've seen before. Some of the names you should be familiar with. There's Dart, there's Go, Rust, Swift, Kotlin, TypeScript.
I was trying to think that. Yeah. There you go.
Some other ones like there's some other interesting ones like Crystal, which is what if you had a language with C speed but Ruby syntax? Or Ballerina. What if the concepts of networks and concurrency were already built into the language? So, what if you could treat the network as a data type? And that's kind of interesting, because nowadays, a lot of these old programming languages were designed when computers were not connected to the internet. We're not connected to the internet all the time. You had to fire up the modem and make the modem sound. Like to
put your phone to the thing, just like in weird science.
Yeah, and in fact, actually, I know that there's at least one old show, I think it's Stargate, where at the end, after the credits run, they're trying to brag, visit us on our website, and they play the modem sound.
That's awesome. Oh, I love
the sound effect while they print the URL on the screen. It's really funny.
That's awesome. I always wondered if you ever hear that thing with the Captain Crunch whistle guy? Was that like a true story?
Yeah.
Where you could...
I have stories about him. Yes, I have met him.
Oh, you have? Okay, yeah.
John Draper.
For the people who don't know, there was like a thing like you could blow like this Captain Crunch whistle that came in the cereal box, and you were able to get like free internet or something like that.
You were able to make free calls. Before hacking, there was something. Yeah, before hacking, there was something called phreaking, Phreaking, And phreaking is phone hacking. And the idea was to try and make free phone calls all over the world. And the way you could do it was the phone system's controlled by tones. One of the tones, I believe it gives you operator level control or something like that, is a tone of 2600 hertz, which a giveaway whistle in Captain Crunch cereal happened to emit when you blew into it. So John Draper tries it, makes himself the operator, gives himself all kinds of free phone calls, and becomes known to the world as Captain Crunch.
That's so funny. It's just the randomest things like people to try. And you should try Captain Crunch because Crunch berries are delicious. I want to get to this user comment here. Todd Libby's asking any R&D books that you could recommend, and I'll extend that to any resources that you think people should go out and take a look at. But if you could first address Todd's question here about books.
Let's see, R&D books. Actually, in the end, the R&D book I would end up going with, like just as a kind of way to prepare your mind to research, to do R&D type work, is can't remember his first. I think it's Gregor, but last name is Polya, Polya.
Okay,
and it's a classic book called How to Solve It, and it's a book full of mathematical problems. And and it's like how many balls of a certain radius can you fit into a box? But there are all these mathematical conundrums, and then he explains how to solve these problems. At the very least, what it does is it teaches you an approach to problem solving. I guess any book that walks through some kind of methodical problem solving process is probably really helpful. There's another author, I believe his name is Petrosky, and somebody please correct me if I'm wrong. He's written a whole bunch of stuff about the way engineers think, and that is the way to do it. One thing to remember, of course, is that what we are doing shouldn't actually be considered as close to science, which is just pure research, but engineering, which is basically taking what we know of science or what we generally know and finding a way to apply it to solve specific problems. And that's what I can recommend off the top of my head. But yeah, I think Petrosky and Polya are, those are the two names that popped up to me immediately.
All right, we'll find that and we'll put a link in the show notes then.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you. You're aware of so many different technologies, and obviously that's part of your thing, part of your career. What actually gets you out of bed in the morning? What is your thing where you're like, you know what, I need to learn about this. I'm so passionate about this, whether it's a new technology or old technology, but this is something that, when you get up, you're like, I got to find out more about this. Do you have something such as that kind of inspiration?
Oh, yeah. And what I try and do is I try and hang on. I try and keep one of those things active at any given time. In this particular case, actually right now, it is making sure that I've got a better understanding of Flutter. Just because, it is it works on all sorts of platforms. Like a lot of people do think of it as as cross-platform mobile development, but it also works for cross-platform web application development, and it is part of my. It belongs either in the 20% part or the 10% part of my technology knowledge portfolio. What I mean by that is that generally what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to keep my knowledge portfolio in 3 buckets, kind of like the way an investor would do, where 70% is in pretty sure things, 20% is in strong maybes, and 10% is just way out there. Like maybe it'll, it's a bit of a long shot, but maybe it'll pay off, but I want to study it because I'm interested and I find it interesting. and I find it interesting. And it's kind of the same way where an investor would go, yeah, 70% in mutual funds, 20% in maybe this fancy fund, and 10% in Carol Baskin's new crypto coin. I don't know if you've heard, but
no, I haven't heard that one.
Big cat rescue lady from Tiger King. She just put out a coin.
Of course she did. Why not? It's 2021.
Yeah, exactly. That was not on my 2021 bingo card, but that's the thing. Highly
good for her.
Unpredictable. Highly unpredictable these days.
That one got me. That's funny.
Yeah, well, I'll send you the link. You should put it in the notes.
Oh, yeah. Please send me the link. I need that in the show notes. Well, hey, we're getting close to the end, and I want to get to our next segment, which is some music. So you have been getting, obviously, you're the accordion guy, but now you've been getting into some different hardware. Do you mind explaining the new way you're going down, and maybe you could play some music for us?
Actually, it's the old way. I started off as an organ player. Actually, we had an organ at home, and I went to Yamaha organ school, and in a fit of rebellion when I was either 17 or 18, because the only way out of grade 3 of the accordion school, this was the Yamaha accordion school, was to finish the Barry Manilow book.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was terrible. I did one last performance, and managed to get myself ejected from the school after it, and that's because they wanted you to sing and play at the same time. And I sang using the voice of Weirdly Gruesome from the Flintstones, the creepy guy whose house always had a cloud over it. They were kind of like Frankenstein-y, and
they were the goths.
Yeah, they were sort of gothy, and he had a wife named Creepella, and he would say, "Oh, Creepella, you look so nauseatingly beautiful this evening." He had that Peter Lorre voice. So I sang. It was Barry Manilow's Weekend in New England, and I sang it using that voice. And they basically said, "Here's your certificate. Don't come back."
That's awesome.
But I joined some bands, played some synth, and I got into the accordion just simply because I was complaining to a friend that I cannot drag a synth out on the street. And he said, "Look, I've got an accordion in my basement. Take it. You play it." I said, "Okay." So that's how I ended up taking it up. So one of the things I want to do is do more programming videos, and I would like to have, I wanted to have my own music on them anyway. So I picked up a Korg i3 keyboard. Not sure you can see it in the back. It's right behind me here. Oh, there we go.
Beautiful.
It's right behind me here. It is an Arranger keyboard. It is probably the best bang for the buck. It is shockingly cheap for what you get. I do like the sound of Korg keyboards. I actually kept my 1991 synth here. It's a Korg Wave Station AD. It's a bit of a collector's item now. And I do. I am working on playing some stuff that will end up in my programming videos, and I'll lay an accordion track on top of them. And I've been noodling around with the one rhythm setting on this thing that is as close as Korg dares to get to a very popular song without getting sued. Every keyboard manufacturer who makes has an Arranger kind of band in a box feature always tries to include one pop song that probably somebody at the store can demo and go, "Oh, I can sound like the hit of the moment."
Sure, yeah. Let me get that Taylor Swift going.
Yeah, exactly. So here
let's hear it. You gonna play something for us?
I'm gonna quickly play the song of the moment, or I'll play the setting of the moment.
Yes, please. And thank you.
Let's see if I can't get us up. Is that coming across? I don't.
Yeah, we can hear it perfectly.
But here's Here's the close to copyright breaking part.
Oh, nice.
It's close because the real part is actually. Yeah, so been having fun with that. I'm going to have to write a song called Bad Pie about Python.
Yes, please. That's awesome. Nice. Well, hey, Joey, we're getting to the end of the show, and I just want to provide two things. First, I want to ask, or well, actually, I want to ask you if there's this seems to be all the locations that people could find you at Twitter, Accordion Guy. I see a pattern here. Then LinkedIn, Joey deVilla, Global Nerdery, your blog, Joey deVilla, and obviously Auth0. Do you mind just quickly talking about Global Nerdery and what that is?
Global Nerdy. Okay, Global Nerdy is my personal tech is my personal tech site. Been up since 2006. The name was randomly determined by a program that I wrote, and Two Cows, who I used to work for. They're a domain name reseller. They had an API called Name Spinner. You could provide it with a bunch of words, and it would spit back all these available domains that you might want to buy based on.
It was great
words.
Service back then.
Yeah. And I tested my own app by going, I need a name for my tech site. I think I threw in nerd, and one of the suggestions it spat out was Global Nerdy. And I thought, wow, that is, that's kind of like a Japanese video game. That's a Japanese video game name. Like, that sounds like a bad guy from Metal Gear.
It does, doesn't it?
Characters like Sniper Wolf. And I was Global Nerdy. You might the evil hacker. So I'm going, okay, I'm going to go with
chicken.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
a great name. Yeah.
So I went with that, and since then I've just kind of been writing about tech topics that are interesting. But also the thing I've been doing is I post a weekly list of tech, entrepreneur, and nerd events centered in and around the Tampa Bay area, kind of as a service. Just telling people, oh yeah, here's what's going on. Currently, the list is for online events that have some kind of online feature. Eventually, once things get better, I will list all the events, even the in-person events. So check that out. And I also do a fair bit of, I do a fair bit of writing about programming. I like to think that the best description of the time and date classes in Swift appear on that blog. Go check it out. So that's basically what that blog is about. It's me trying to serve the tech community one way or the other.
I love it. And you've had that blog for a long time, right? You've been writing since like 2006 in there?
Global Nerdy is 2006. And the Accordion Guy blog, joeydevilla.com, has its 20th birthday this November. 2001.
Wow, that's awesome. Congratulations. That's so cool, man. Yeah, you've been doing it for a while. Well, hey, we're right about at the end of the show. Next segment. Words of wisdom. Joey, I want to ask you at the end here if you could provide our audience any kind of parting words of wisdom, any advice out there, anything you want to say. Floor is yours.
Okay, well, I guess... for one, I mean, we are, you know what, see what you can learn from history. We are just coming out from under a pandemic. Look at the things that happened after previous pandemics, especially now, because think of the Great Plague, which coincided with the invention, nearly with the invention of the printing press. And now think of the current plague that we're under, and how it coincides with relatively recent developments. It's not exactly the same time, but close enough for rock and roll. This relatively recent development of ubiquitous, constantly networked computing and where that fits in. Beyond that, the other bit of advice I'm totally stealing from, I believe it's the Sikorsky Helicopter Company, and it's something. It was something that they had posted to a bulletin board, something about basically going, look at the Bumblebee. Its weight distribution is all wrong. Its wing size is all wrong. There's no way it should fly, but it doesn't know that, and it does it anyway. Do the same thing. Be the Bumblebee.
I love that. That's awesome. Well, Joey, thank you so much again for being on the show. As we said, for the 333rd time, and I'm sure we'll do it again, and hopefully we'll be able to see you in the future in the flesh at the next conference. And I'm definitely taking you up on St. Pete, coming down and having a beer with you and
most definitely
and your wife. Yeah, that sounds great.
All right, let's make it happen.
Yes, please, and thank you. Well, hey, again, for the Thunder Nerds, I am Frederick Philip von Weiss. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Sincerely appreciate it, and we'll see you next time. Oh, hold on. We got one comment. Oh, Todd, thanks all. Hey, thanks, Todd. Appreciate it. See you, everybody.